And overall, we want to be able to guide a filmmaker, even if we're not wanting to take the conversation further with them, but nudge them in the right direction of where we do recommend that they look. Being a creative is hard because sometimes you find your tribe and sometimes you don't.
Katie, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you today?
I'm really good too. It's really hot in New York. I think this feels like a record heat, so I'm kind of just trying to get used to that.
Treat it like a holiday.
So I am so excited to talk to you about Festival Formula today. You guys, Katie is the founder of Festival Formula, which is a company that aligns filmmakers with film festivals that fit their needs. So I know that you've been in the industry for a while. I want to start off, maybe this is kind of a heavy hitter, but what does something like that look like today in 2025?
Festival strategist. It's a niche job,
Hmm.
and it's one that I never thought I would ever go into because you didn't know it existed.
Right.
And yeah, so I've been doing it 21 years now,
Hmm.
which is an incredibly long time. And I've seen a lot of changes, including a pandemic, which was a new one. Um, in terms of what it looks like today, for me, it's continuing to educate filmmakers about how they can better prepare themselves for the festival side of things because it is overwhelming. There are a lot of festivals, I'd say too many film festivals, um, and it's not a cheap thing to do. It can be quite costly. I think what my role as a strategist has changed a lot in the 21 years of doing it, in that even 15 years ago, we didn't have as many festivals, weren't as many filmmakers. It was more expensive to make a film. Whereas now, we can shoot on a mobile phone and anyone can buy a 5D or a 7D Canon film and shoot stills as well as footage. So a lot has changed. I just think there's a lot more films being made, which means that the circuit's quite flooded at times.
Right, right. And I know that you'll watch films for free for people that submit to you, and then you also provide them feedback, which is so kind if they work with you or if they don't work with you. So I can only imagine that makes the workload, a bit more.
It does, yeah. I've always maintained that I wanted to give that back to filmmakers, even if we didn't kind of pursue talking to them further about their project, because the festival side of things is quite faceless. You don't necessarily get told why a festival doesn't want to select your film. There are a few festivals that might give you that feedback, but it's generally later down the line after their festival's taken place, and I think sometimes filmmakers are often wanting to know why they didn't get selected, not necessarily about their film. So for us, we are very transparent. We want to be as open and as honest as we can. So my background script writing, so I'm kind of trained in doing script reports. So I kind of teach the rest of the team who watch the films exactly the same premise, and that's us watching a film. We give a précis of your plot, so we can prove we've watched it, we've understood it. We give, some notes about the things that are really strong and the things that work, and then also perhaps any hurdles that the film might have. Um, and overall, we want to be able to guide a filmmaker, even if we're not wanting to take the conversation further with them, but nudge them in the right direction of where we do recommend that they look. Because sometimes when we're saying no to a film, it can often be it's a very particular type of film, and we don't think that there's enough journey for the film to have by hiring our services, which are at a cost. Or it might be because the filmmakers already spent a lot of money on submissions and they're still waiting to hear back from a lot of them. And again, we're very genuine, very honest. We're not going to make a filmmaker spend more money if we don't think they should. And sometimes the film just is not perhaps festival quality. And we like to be constructive with our feedback because we know that it can be really tough for filmmakers. They've put a lot of time and effort and money and love and blood, sweat, and tears into this project. Um, And even just having someone be honest about it is actually quite integral, I think, as a filmmaker on that creative journey. So even if we're saying no, uh, we're kind of showing that we've watched their work and that we appreciate it, and we think, what they've done is of certain quality.
I want to jump back in time a little bit. So you said 21 years ago, you started doing this while you were studying script writing in school. There were two brothers asking you to submit their film to festivals, and that's how you fell into this, because you said earlier that you didn't see yourself doing something like this.
No.
In that early part of your experience, what's something that you really took and you can hang on to, or you hung on to, maybe you don't anymore, that helped you get to where you are today?
So Ben and Chris Blaine, who were the brothers that I was tasked with putting their films into festivals, they were they came from a background of not being trained, so they didn't go to film school. They just learned by doing. So that I really appreciated the fact that they took a risk on me, who was not a filmmaker. I was a scriptwriter, and studying at that point. But the one thing that I've taken from that experience of meeting them then and until now is that they were so generous with their time, and they were keen to kind of hear what I wanted to do, what I was interested in, what I didn't want to do. And I've kind of taken that on through the reiterations of the company, because the company is 11 years old as a brand, like Festival Formula, but me as a strategist, I've been doing it 21 years. So for a long period of time, it was just me doing everything. And I think that kind of goes back to, when we're giving this feedback for free and we're giving something back to a filmmaker, even if we're not carrying on that conversation with them, is because I want everyone to feel valid, that they've been heard and that their film has been watched. And I think I've just taken that in every single part of the journey of the company, is that it's having that engagement, even if it is a very difficult conversation, it's actually having the conversation. And I think for me, perhaps it's a holistic approach, but I just think that 9 times out of 10, filmmakers will appreciate the honesty. We'll get the odd filmmaker that kicks back and is angry, but I always say to them, like, we're trying to make you not spend money, so
Right.
we're being honest. It's not worth your while using our services. But I think what I've always taken from the very beginning is, by spending time, and it is time, and people are very time poor at the moment, but spending time with somebody and making sure that you are responding to them and communicating effectively, even if you are delivering bad news, always goes a long way, because there are filmmakers that we have said no to, and they always come back and they always say, I appreciate the fact that you've taken time to kind of watch my film, to understand it, to tell me what the hurdles are going to be. And they always come back with their next project, because they respect the fact that we're not just doing it for a cash grab. So I kind of feel like this idea, I do still cling to it, is this idea of having that communication and spending time with everyone that I'm kind of engaging with, even if it is a no from us, because being a creative is hard, because sometimes you find your tribe and sometimes you don't, and sometimes you can be blind to the project at hand, where you perhaps really believe in it and it might be a passion project, but when we're looking at it as a strategist, we're looking at it as, can this film translate into different territories, can it travel? And again, we're very honest. If we think a film is so particular and we can't see a very big circuit journey for it, we have to say that, because there's plenty of projects that, as a watcher of films, I've fallen in love with, but I've had to make a very difficult decision and say, I love this film, but as a strategist, I have to be honest, it's going to be tough. So
Mm.
that idea of, like, being genuine, being honest, and spending time with people and formulating a response to them, no matter if it's good or bad, um, can be tricky, but it pays dividends, because you build trust. And there are certain filmmakers that have sent us project after project after project. And each time I've gone, I don't think it suits. I don't think it suits the circuit journey. And then they come back with one, and I go, that's the one. That's the one that will work. And then we have a lot of return clientele because we build that trust. So yeah, I'd probably say it is kind of it's spending genuine time to give realistic responses,
Right.
because that I just think is key in any, like, our film industry is built on people selling dreams and lying to get to the next level, whereas I just think we're very genuine and honest because we have to be. I have to sleep at night. I have to make sure that my team are not overloaded with films that perhaps are not up to scratch. Um, and we want festivals getting the best work sent to them. So it's all like a domino effect, really.
Really, it is. Do you think your education in script writing helps you with the storytelling process in watching films as well?
Totally, totally. I think it gives me the level of intricacy that I can talk to a filmmaker about their work and they feel seen. Because so many times, like, because I've trained up the rest of the team, and we are a mixed bunch of people from the creative industry and not from the creative industry, but we all love watching films. That level of feedback that we give, um, it's so integral, because when you get to talk to someone about their work and they their minds are blown when they're like, wow, you really understood my work, like you really understood my film, it makes us happy because we're like, yeah, because you did something right and it translated and it worked, and there's a universality to the story you're telling, and we think this should be seen by a wider audience. um I think I get that from just that script writing background, because story is key. I
Right.
don't care what the budget is. I don't care who's in it. I don't care what names are in it. I don't know. I don't care where it was shot. It's the story. So if that story is there, the rest of the things fall into place. All of the jigsaw puzzle pieces. And I think when I talk to filmmakers about their work, there is a joy for me when I can say, I love the fact that you did this, and I love the fact that you didn't do this, that you went a different route. And it's always exciting when they're like, wow, you twigged everything, like you got everything. It's like, yeah, because when a story's well told, um it can just it can just fly brilliantly. So yeah, I think I'm always kind of, it's interesting. I haven't written for a long time because this has kept me exceptionally busy. So it's kind of, when I do get, I'm kind of living through the films that are coming in where I'm like, oh, this script is amazing. Like, this is a really, really good, like, piece for this actor to perform with. And so I'm never too far away from always talking about, oh, I love this script. I love this narrative beat. And I suppose it just means that I get to flex the conversations about it because I
Right.
don't have the time to write anymore.
Right. And so do you remember a point in time where you were like, I like where I'm headed now with film strategy and I'm going to stay in that direction after making the switch from script writing?
Yeah, it was a big decision because it was, writing was my world. Last minute, I decided to change all of my university choices. I was supposed to go and study, I was supposed to go and be an actor. And last minute, I decided to switch everything to writing courses. And everyone was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know, but it feels right. So I'm just going to do the writing thing. And then I got into Bournemouth University for script writing, film and TV, which is very hard to get into. Have an interview, had to write kind of a script. Um, and when I got there, that, like, it was everything. It was like, right, script writing, and then I did playwriting, and that's kind of where I made a bit of a name for myself. So my whole world was writing, and then I started doing this, and then they were both in existence at the same time. And I think, it's tough to make money as a writer, no matter what format that you're writing for. And I just had so many filmmakers requesting help because I did it word of mouth for an incredibly long time, like 7 or 8 years. And it
Wow,
was
yeah.
only because, Ben and Chris would get these selections at festivals, and then their fellow filmmakers would say, "How are you finding time to do this?" And they would say, "Well, we have Katie doing it." So I ended up kind of picking up a very small database of clients. And then I remember I remember vividly. I think I made a Facebook post that basically said, "I have decided that I do not enjoy writing anymore. I enjoy this because I can help so many more people with this strategy side
Right.
of things." And it's never say never. Like, I have had a few commissions like dotted through the past 10 years about writing, but it's something that is so far from my brain capacity because this is so full on. This is like every day is different, and every month is a different festival, travel, trip, and everything else. So that that divergence of like it really was like a crossroads where I was like, I could try and do both, but they're both not going to be up to scratch. I need to pick one and go for it. And I picked the strategy because it was more exciting, it was more fruitful for monetary reasons, but just because I got to meet so many more people. Whereas, excuse me, with the writing, it was, you'd slave away on a script by yourself for so long, and then you'd have to try and find people to make it, and then it would be like, then you need the money, and then it just became this kind of like, this very confusing whirlwind of just sitting there waiting for something to happen. Whereas with this side, I was like, I can make things happen for other people that are further down the line, and it's just as exciting for me.
Right. I am curious to know, outside of film festivals, how many films would you say you're watching per week?
Oh, a lot. It's hard to say. I mean, we probably get films sent to us as a company to consider on a weekly basis. We're probably getting between maybe like 7 to 15 a week.
Mm, hmm.
But then we also do kind of labs. So if we're working with a film festival and their education arm, we might be watching 10 films from their 10 filmmakers that we're then going to be going to help and kind of help navigate them in their own strategies. And at the same time, we do a lot of work with film schools where we're
Hmm.
watching their final projects and then giving them a one-to-one conversation about where we think they should be aiming for in the circuit. So that, personally, I'm probably watching like maybe like 10, 15, 20 films a week. Um, so it's a lot. Um,
Yeah. Like you have to love film.
have to love it. Yeah, I mean, I always say I watch an awful lot of films, and a lot of the films are awful. So I have to kind of like, you are wading through. So, I, I think it feels like a long slog, and then you watch an amazing film and it just makes you forget that you've been watching films solidly for like 4 hours one morning. Because if the films are good, the time flies. You just, when you get to write that feedback, it just flies out your fingertips because you're like, oh, this is amazing and I really love what you did here. And sometimes when I'm watching films, it's trying to work out some problems, and I don't mean kind of problems with the film, hurdles. I should probably call them hurdles. When perhaps a film has come to us and they've said, we've got this selection coming up, we've submitted to here, we haven't heard back from here, and by the way, we're going to be going online premiere in like 7 months' time. So it becomes this kind of like problem solving where I'm like, okay, so how many more festivals can we fit in between that time? Are there festivals that don't care about it being online? So every film is like a puzzle to put together, that you're forming the pieces. So I suppose that's like where my creativity comes now, where it's like problem solving. And every film is different, and also just looking at it face value, like what production country, what's the runtime, what's the theme, what's the genre, who made it, Where has it been seen already? Like it's all those cogs that kind of switch in your brain where you suddenly go, oh, actually, let's look at this area. So yeah, it's kind of presents a new conundrum for each film, which for everyone else it's boring admin, but for me it's like, oh, I get to kind of play in my sandbox and kind of like go, da, 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 right, let's move these things around.
AI has obviously presented itself, and how have you seen changes in the film industry with that in the last couple of years?
AI is it's an interesting one because I think there are people that embrace it, there are people that are dead against it. You get a lot of people that are beginning to factor it in, but perhaps not necessarily to the creative filmmaking side, but the pre-production side of things. So I think there is this kind of shift where people are against it being a factor of taking away creativity. But at the same time, there is that automation element that people are beginning to embrace. I think for us, what we have seen, especially in the last few years, is a lot of festivals will have at the point of submission. So when a filmmaker is kind of going, yes, I want to click the buttons and put my film into consideration here, there may be a box or a drop down menu selection where you will have to specify, did you use any AI in the creation of your film? Some festivals are very dead against it, where they will say, if you have used AI in any capacity, please do not submit here. We don't support it. So there's kind of, we're beginning to see a kind of shift. I don't know if it's clear cut. That's all I can say, because there are some festivals that will say, look, if you used AI, that's fine. Can you just tell us in what capacity? Because in the VFX world, some of the AI, it may be, purchasing pre-made faces for a crowd scene rather than trying to painstakingly kind of create them from scratch, which that's not controlling a narrative. That's kind of an aesthetic decision. But at the same time, like, I think this is just personally, I've yet to see a fully AI generated film that I think is coherent and good to watch. Because I kind of like, it's really clunky. You can see
Yeah,
like it's them
you can
shifting
tell.
morphing. Yeah, it becomes distracting because I'm like, where's the story? Like again, like story is key. So AI, I do think it's always going to be on people's lips. I think there are some AI specific film festivals popping up, which
Mm.
I think is interesting because obviously it's embracing the fact that uh, there is an audience for them. But at the same time, I think we've never really been in a position. We've had one film which was created partially using AI. It was about AI, so it kind of had a context to it. But I've yet to see a fully fledged AI film come our way because like it would be an interesting one to see, but at the same time, like I already know as a strategist, there's lots of festivals saying if you got AI, we don't want to see it.
And I'm sure that would add another layer to the problem solving for you, especially if there's like that little piece of AI for one of your clients. So, wow, that's gonna keep making your job fun.
Yeah, every day's a school day. Yeah.
What is a pseudo film festival?
Ah. So again, doing this so long, used to be that scam festivals were just cut and dry. They would put a call out for submissions, you would pay your $25 or whatever, and then you would just never hear from them. And the nuance here, which still happens today, which is very frustrating, is that sometimes you won't hear back from a festival, even if you didn't get in. You don't get that rejection or non selection notification. It frustrates us because we think filmmakers should have clear line of communication. So that was back kind of, again, like 21 years ago. Now, pseudo festivals are a combination of something that does take place It is an event, it is something you can turn up to, but it is the bare minimum. So if people are being charged $25 to submit, and let's say they get selected, when they turn up, it could possibly be in a conference room in a hotel on the outskirts of a town, which means it's a very cheap kind of, hire, flip down chairs, but there's no one there. So if there is someone from the festival there, they can just go, well, at least we took place. We're not a scam festival. So it's minimal effort essentially. Um,
Right.
and some of these pseudo festivals can tip into what we call online only festivals, or awards meals, where it's not a traditional festival that's been curated. The films are screened. Essentially, what happens is you pay to play or you pay to get a selection, and you get the laurels. And if you won an award, they generally charge you a couple of $100 for the awards. So it's kind of hollow. It doesn't really translate to anyone else in the industry. And we understand why some filmmakers lean into it, because they do want that validation and they want it quickly, because the process of submitting to a traditional festival and hearing back is very long. And that has changed a lot over the years. And this is even pre-pandemic times. The window, like, you can submit to a festival now and it doesn't take place till June next year. So you have an incredibly long time to wait, but you might hit another deadline for a festival now and it takes place December this year. But generally, the festivals, it's a long, ongoing process. So filmmakers can get a little bit antsy and they do want that validation very quickly. So they often will kind of go, yeah, I know it means nothing, but it gives me something to talk about. Whereas what we want to say is, like, don't give them your money because you keep them going, and it doesn't mean anything. They can be very, very just kind of not great festivals to really kind of align your work with.
I actually hadn't heard about them until I read the Hollywood Reporter article.
They are just like, they just kind of keep popping up, because the thing is, like, there are too many film festivals, way too many film festivals, which is why it's overwhelming for filmmakers, especially if they're a new emerging filmmaker who's just stepping onto the circuit. That when you are browsing through Film Freeway, or you're looking through any of the Oscar qualifying lists or BAFTA or Canadian Screen Awards, you end up kind of just getting a bit blind because there are so many, and you have to put the time and research in, because you're spending money and you want your film to be going to decent, legit festivals. And sometimes they do hide in plain sight because they use a city name, and people go, oh, that's a really big city, I'd love to screen there. And then when you look a little closer, photos that are not from their festival, or they don't have a venue listed, or they've got a catch 'em all category where, like, you can submit to more than one category, which is an automatic red flag. Like, any decent, legit festival, you submit to one category and that's it. So when you see at the top, submit to all categories for $280, you're like, yeah, it's a bit suspect.
I want to jump back to what you were saying about working with the film schools. So you guys do master classes also with, like, universities and film schools. How did that come about?
So a mixture, really. I interestingly do go back every year to do a guest lecture at my old university,
Wow.
which is really interesting because my degree doesn't exist anymore. They actually stopped it a while ago, yeah. And it's changed a lot. Like, the whole campus is very, very different. So some of it is a combination of they've seen us talk at a festival, or another school, education body. We've got regular gigs with film schools in London, but we also do online teaching for US film courses as well. So it's a combination, really. Like, we always kind of get requests and we like to tailor it. So if we're talking to documentary students, then we're gearing it towards documentary festivals. We always like to use case studies in our teachings so we can kind of show our workings. So if we have enough time, if we get given like 3 hours for a lecture, then what we would do is we do like a standard, like this is what a film festival is, these are different types, this is how you can do your research bespoke to your film. But we like to do a compare and comparison. So we'll pick two very different films that we've handled, and then we'll show the film so the filmmakers can see it, but then we'll also tell them how we did our research, what areas did we pick up from the film, and then we'll show them like the successes the film had, like the variety of selections it got. And then we do the stats, like we started submissions here, but it doesn't end till this time, which is like 18 months down the line. How many selections they got, how many Oscar qualifying selections they got, or BAFTA or Movie Maker magazine recognized selections. And then we'll show a completely different film. So we generally, I think the last one we did was a Dutch documentary, a Dutch queer documentary by a female director, and then we did it with a comedy horror US production. So again, two different circuit journeys. But it's to really reiterate that every film's different and every filmmaker's background is different, and you can utilize that to kind of increase potential for selection. So it's very tailored to what people need, because again, we just want it to be as bespoke as it can be, because then it's beneficial for everyone. But yeah, we do kind of guest lectures all over the place, really, both virtually but also physically too.
That's amazing. What's been the most insightful part of that experience?
Seeing how little is taught in film schools about once you've made your film, what you do with it. So that's the reason why we get called in, is because the syllabus generally cannot always be up to date because they just don't have somebody on the ground working the festival side of things. So we always find it interesting when we go in and we talk to the students, like, have you been to a film festival? What festivals have you been to? And that's where we begin to see that there is a big kind of hole in their knowledge, that we're there to kind of go, right, okay, like you are located here, there's a film festival happening next month, you should totally go get a ticket or pick a block of films to go watch. So that's always exciting for us. It's kind of a bit of a shock that we're like, wow, you don't really know a whole load and you've just made your short film, but exciting because we can kind of go, great, right, now we're going to prepare you for everything that you need to know, so that when you do start submitting and spending your submission fee budget, you're spending it wisely. So, and that hits reset every time we go to a new class. And some students will be really switched on. They'll be like, yeah, I go to this festival and that festival, and I'm watching films every week on Short of the Week or director's notes or something like that. And we're like, brilliant, you're doing the groundwork. And other times they'll be like, I've made this film and I don't know if it's good. And we're like, let's take a look at it and we can kind of advise you. So yeah, everything is always different, and I think that's why it's so exciting still, that I never get bored of this.
Right. I feel like there's no way that you will. Like the way that technology and everything is changing, I feel like there's absolutely no way you'll get bored. Are they mostly short films that they're focusing on in film school as well?
Yeah, so they generally kind of work to different tasks each semester. So it might be like they've got to make a film that's 4 minutes with no dialogue, one location. So that generally is kind of like a short exercise. And then as they kind of get to their final years, it's generally like it's got to be less than 15 minutes, and it can be anything. But it is always kind of generally short films. I don't think we've ever come across any episodics yet, but that's generally because probably that would be a master's degree, I think, because all the kind of BA or the kind of intermediary degrees are generally like about the craft of making, rather than kind of like diverging into something a bit more specific like that.
What is a feature or a short film that you are really inspired by lately?
I'm going to be slightly awkward and answer, but it's a TV series.
Hey, we accept it.
um, and it's frustrating. So I'll tell you the context. So I had read about The Pit, um, and I loved ER. I thought it was great, and I was a big fan. And I do like medical dramas, and I like medical dramas that are done very well. Um, in the UK, we have no way to watch The Pit at all. It is not, there's been no deal made about putting it onto any of the kind of channels or kind of subscription platforms. So I flew recently from, where did I fly from? From Las Vegas back home to the UK. And on the plane, they had the entire season, the first season of The Pit. And I thought it was just the pilot episode. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to watch it and see what all the deal is about. And I watched it and I ended up watching nine back to back. Didn't sleep on the flight.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
there are 15. So I still am short because I've only watched nine out of the 15. Um, and I think that for me, bearing in mind that sometimes our TV series can feel a bit static, like it's the same thing replicated over and over again. That for me felt really exciting because the format of it, like every episode is an hour in the ER,
Mm.
um, meant that the pace has got to be there. Like the choreography of the cinematography is amazing, the performances are stellar, the script is realistic, like all the medical jargon has been done to the T. Like it's brilliant. That I got really excited, and it's been a while since I've watched something TV wise that I've kind of gone like, I have to keep watching. Like even though I
Mm.
should get some sleep on this flight, I have to keep watching this. Um, so that really was inspiring because I think medical dramas, when they're done well, shine a light on the societal issues that we're dealing with now. And I know that some people think it's a little preachy in areas, but as a scriptwriter, I'm like, oh, they're threading these stories brilliantly and beautifully. Like it is like it's a real ride to watch. So that's probably the thing that I keep wanting to talk about, but can't talk to anyone because nobody's watched it in the UK.
Right. And
So
wait,
yeah,
so you guys can't even like buy the season?
no,
Wow.
it's not been released. So it's a Warner Brothers HBO Max collab, and in the UK we have Sky Atlantic, which is basically where a lot of HBO series go. Like that's where you would watch Game of Thrones, or it would be where you watched uh, Succession. So there are shows that do go on there for the UK audience, but there has been no deal struck for The Pit yet.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those things that everyone like I haven't found anyone else that's watched it yet. So I'm kind of sitting on this like waiting to be able to talk about it. But yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I feel like you just influenced me. I think I should go watch.
It is great. It is really really great. I mean, it's if you're squeamish, it's not great because it is kind of very no holds barred. Everything goes in the ER. But if you're okay with that, it is. It's a real. It's just like intense, but kind of like you just want to keep watching.
Okay, well, that's all you had to say. I am definitely interested. Katie, that is all the questions that I had for you. This has been so great. Is there anything you would like the people to know before we get off?
Come and check out our website and our socials. Festivalformula.com. We're at Festival Formula on Instagram and Facebook and on Threads. I always say it is a really valuable resource as a filmmaker. You do not have to use our services to look at our website or browse our socials. It's a really good area to kind of find out about film festivals. We're always posting about where our clients have been selected for, what clients have joined our slate, but also where we're traveling to. So, you never know, there might be a festival that you didn't know about on there. Or there might be a festival that you did know about and you want to see what they picked from us. So you can kind of do a comparable and see where your film is similar to the films that they're selecting. So come and follow us on socials.
And I will link everything below so they can find you super easily. Thank you so much, Katie. This has been great. It has been awesome talking to you. So insightful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for all your wonderful questions. I love it when I've just got like really fizzy questions sent my way. So